What if I told you your dog once ignored a free meal, not because they were full, not because they were confused, but because they decided a human wasn't worth trusting anymore? Imagine this. A researcher points to a box. Your dog runs, jackpot. Points again, empty. Third time, food is actually there, and your dog just stands still, watching her, like it's thinking, no, not again. That moment right there isn't stubbornness. It's not instinct, it's a decision. And here's the part most people get completely wrong. Your dog isn't sensing bad energy, they're not psychic, and they're definitely not guessing. They're calculating. And once you understand how that calculation works, you'll never look at the way your dog reacts to people the same way again. Stay with me, because the reason behind this behavior is far more precise and honestly more unsettling than anything you've heard online. Now, before we go deeper, think about your own dog for a second. Have you ever noticed how they meet someone new? Not the obvious reactions like barking or wagging, but that tiny pause, that half second where they just observe. That pause is everything. Because in that moment, your dog is running a 3-layer assessment faster than you can process a handshake. First, movement. Dogs don't read faces the way we do. They read motion. The angle someone approaches from, how quickly they close distance, whether their body is stiff or fluid. A person walking straight at a dog with tension sends a completely different signal than someone curving slightly, relaxed. You might miss it, your dog doesn't. Second, chemistry. Not emotions in a mystical sense, but actual chemical signals. When humans feel stress, fear, or aggression, our bodies release subtle compounds into the air. You can't smell them, but your dog can. It's like they're reading a live weather report of your internal state. And third, the layer almost nobody talks about, you. Your dog watches how you react. Your tone, your posture, even micro-tension in your body. You are their baseline for safety, and any deviation from your normal behavior becomes data. Now, here's where it gets interesting. None of these signals alone can define a person, but combined, in real time, they create a pattern. And your dog doesn't just react to that pattern, they remember it. Let's go back to that experiment. A dog follows a human pointing gesture, finds food, trust is built. Then, the human points again, and there's nothing. In human terms, it's a small mistake. In dog terms, it's a broken contract. On the third round, when the human points correctly again, the dog hesitates or refuses, not because it forgot how pointing works, but because it has updated its model of that specific person. And here's the twist that changes everything. When a new person enters and points, the dog follows immediately. Trust wasn't lost in general. It was reassigned with precision. Think about that. Your dog isn't becoming suspicious of the world. It's becoming selective about individuals. That's not instinct. That's evaluation. And it gets deeper. In another setup, a dog watches its owner struggle with something simple, like opening a container, and a nearby person either helps or deliberately refuses. The dog isn't involved. Nothing happens to them. No reward, no punishment. They're just observing. Afterward, both the helpful and unhelpful person offer the dog a treat. Same food, same timing, no pressure. And yet, when the person had ignored their owner, many dogs refused the treat completely and walked away. Not delayed, not hesitant, a clean rejection. Now pause on that, because this is where most people misinterpret what dogs are doing. It's easy to say, oh, the dog thinks that person is bad, but that's not what's happening. Your dog isn't making moral judgments. It's tracking reliability within its social world. Someone who ignores their human introduces instability, and instability to a dog is risk. So they reduce exposure. What's even more revealing is that the helpful person doesn't get extra points. Dogs don't go, wow, thank you for helping, I trust you more. They simply don't penalize them. But the one who refused, that's remembered. This is called a negativity bias, and it's incredibly efficient. In survival terms, knowing who to avoid matters more than knowing who to reward. Now here's a second moment I want you to pay attention to, because this one flips the entire conversation. Imagine two identical mistakes. A person points to the wrong place. In one case, they genuinely don't know they're wrong. In another, they saw the truth and intentionally mislead. From the outside, the action looks the same, but dogs respond differently. When the mistake is innocent, dogs are more likely to follow. When it's intentional, they begin to ignore the signal and rely on their own judgment, which suggests something subtle but powerful. Your dog may not just track behavior, but intention behind behavior. Not perfectly, not in a human, philosophical sense, but enough to shift their trust. And if that's true, it changes how we interpret those quiet moments when your dog seems to read someone. They're not reading minds. They're comparing patterns, outcomes, and consistency faster than we consciously can. Now, let's ground this in something practical, because this isn't just interesting science, it's something you can actually use. Next time your dog meets someone new, don't just look at their reaction. Look at the sequence. Do they approach and then slow down? Do they circle instead of going straight in? Do they stay close to you but keep watching? Those are not random behaviors. That's data processing. And here's the part most people overlook. Your reaction can override or reinforce what your dog is learning. If you tense up around someone but force a cheerful tone, your dog detects the mismatch. That inconsistency alone can create uncertainty in their model of the situation. So one of the simplest ways to help your dog make better social decisions is to be internally consistent yourself. Calm body, calm voice, clear signals. You're not just guiding them, you're training the system they use to interpret the world. Now, to be completely fair, not every study lines up perfectly. In some cases, dogs don't show a clear preference when watching strangers interact with others outside their social circle. And that actually tells us something important. Your dog isn't scanning every human on Earth looking for good or bad traits. Their evaluation system activates strongest when it involves you or their immediate environment. In other words, your dog cares about what affects their world, not abstract morality, but relational impact. And that brings us back to where we started. A dog staring at a human, choosing not to move. That's not hesitation. That's memory, combined with prediction. It's your dog saying, "Last time this pattern led nowhere. I'm not investing energy again." And if you zoom out, that's exactly what trust is. Not a feeling, but a decision built on repeated outcomes. So if your dog loves everyone they meet, that doesn't mean they lack this ability. It means their experience hasn't given them a reason to filter yet. But if one day they pause, step back, or quietly avoid someone they would normally approach, that's a signal worth paying attention to. Not blindly trusting it, but not dismissing it either, because your dog has been collecting data on human behavior their entire life, including yours. Now I want to hear from you, because this is where it gets really interesting. First, has your dog ever suddenly disliked someone for no obvious reason? And did you later understand why? Second, do you think your dog is reacting more to a person's behavior or to your own subtle reactions around that person? Drop both answers in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've made it this far, you're starting to see what most people miss. Your dog isn't just living with you. They're studying you, your patterns, your world, constantly refining how they decide who to trust. That quiet intelligence, that invisible calculation happening in seconds, that's what fascinates me. And that's exactly what we explore here. This is Mr. Hidden Mind, where we uncover the signals you didn't know you were sending, and the decisions being made before you even realize they exist.